Well, hello and good evening, ladies and gents. I said good evening like 16 times then, Jammer. That was weird. Anyway, good evening, everybody. It's me, ReaperSteve, and I'm joined by the one and only Jammer. How are you doing, Jammer?
Yeah, I'm good. Not really finished my food, but we all know the story of me eating food before a cast.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like you're the like the most productive one out of the two of us. You actually eat before casts, whereas I don't. I just go. Oh, it'll be okay. I'll figure out afterwards, and I'll get something sorted. And then we end up getting towards the end of the cast, and I'm sitting there going like, God, I am really tired. I don't know what's going on with me. Why is
Just
why
foaming
is
at
my
the mouth. Like, it's definitely
yeah?
not the best strat for NA gigs, I'll tell
Oh
you that
no, no,
much.
definitely not. Yeah, me and Jammer just come off the back of working for a charity event in North America, and I will be completely honest with you boys. Definitely not my finest hour while I was sat there at like what 11 o'clock at the night going, Jammer, this game needs to finish, please. I need to order food because there's nothing in the house. It was horrific. Nonetheless, though, we're here today watching Esports Wales Yar. Potentially mine and yours last game of the year casting. Um, that is unless we continue on playoffs and then we end up working a little bit later into the year that we didn't really plan for. But nonetheless, yeah, this is us watching Yard do their best of three against the team called Protos. I've kind of had a look at Protos. As most will know, and Jammer knows this for definite, I've tried to be a little bit more aware of stuff that I don't normally do, which is actually like research teams, um, which makes me sound really super unprofessional. But at the same time, um, that's not the case. Like I am 100% professional. Um, and yeah, I've been kind of looking into these teams, and I think you have as well, also because we both had a brief conversation before we went straight into voice kind of thing. Because as you said, you were still cooking poutine, even though you're English, you're not Canadian, but whatever. And yeah, we kind of had a brief conversation. Both these teams are kind of fairly matched. Protos
Yeah,
are 9-8.
9
No,
and 5.
9-5. Sorry, even 9-8.
Yes.
8-6 is what I was getting at with Yar. In the Open, so they're kind of fairly matched in that respect, in the sense of wins versus losses. But where the real difference kind of comes into it is Yar have kind of, I don't want to use the terminology like being handed their way through into it, because they had 3 forfeits back to back, but
Yeah.
there's that has definitely had like a big helping hand. But they've also then had chance to kind of develop
Improve on
strats
the.
and improve.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. They've had that opportunity to kind of sit down and go, do you know what? This isn't working. This is working. Kind of push the right areas out. And Stato has been good like that. I mean, we've been kind of keeping an eye on the chat in the production side of things, and they have been working on stuff. So map 1 tonight is going to be Inferno. We're jumping straight into it, Jammer, more or less. I've blathered on way too much as it is already, so I'm going to let you take it away for the beginning part there.
Okay, well, we are in our pissed around, our inaugural pissed around of the playoffs, and so far it seems like Protoss are going to be on the T side, showing a lot of kind of ankle, I want to call it,
Mm.
towards Banana, and that's just going to be in the form of one player using a lot of util, but he gets taken out early, and these 3 players over towards B are going to need to make their way over towards A, and that's the final ending of this setup. Double pit setup, unusual, but it can work out. The blocks, they have the advantage. State and wild trade out, though, and it's only short-lived. 3 versus 2 now on the cards for the retake. A space push, and Moas are trying to lock down the site.
The delay is quite good though from that dual pit setup. It buys a little bit extra time. Okay, bomb does get planted, but at the same time, you can build a bit more information up from a Yar perspective. It's how this push comes through, and speaking of push, the space push is just not having any of it. He takes all 3 down back to back, and that puts Yar on the back foot immediately, Jammer.
Yeah, I think in the end, it was a bit of an unfortunate situation pushing through the smoke there. They had time to work with. The smoke would have left it so that the bomb time was halfway ticked through, but when you have man advantage, you can kind of afford to wait it out and just push together on a timing instead of going through blindly. They get
Yeah.
punished for it, as we saw from Space Push, and now we're in this unfortunate situation where they're on a deco round. They have forced up for all intents and purposes, and these Mac 10s are prospectively going to chew through these ER players.
It's about where they push this Mac 10 push though as well. I mean, you'd think Banana would be the the kind of like the objective play really, but there's been no real active kind of push from Protos. They've kind of feigned that direction by using a lot of utility and then faded away from it. This puts Stato on lock, and Wild gets a really nasty connection through smoke there.
Yeah, even trades as Protoss wrap around the A site, and this is going to be where Stato and Wild need to lock things down, but it's not worked out. It's Cody G, sorry, as I correct myself. But Cody is still alive, and he's hitting heads from the apps area. There's one taken down, but there's 3 more to find, and 3 CTs left to find those heads. 2 SMGs still up. Base push, though, with the AK, I think is going to be the danger man, as you'd call, and he's sat in pit, sorry. Some early util coming out from ER, but they're just very hesitant on the push. You saw how they got punished earlier, pushing through the smokes. Potatoes pushing through the site. He's not waiting for anything, but it's not going to work out for ER as Protoss get 2 rounds.
Yeah, Potatoes just didn't, zero F's given, so to speak. Just pushed straight into sight. Started slapping that deagle right in the face of I think it wasn't Space Push. Space Push was still up at the end. It might have been Moss or Zoffrey, but just pushed straight in, started slapping the heads, and it didn't really work out in the end. We now fall into this like eco sort of. I say eco. There are some upgraded pistols, but not a massive amount to really work with from Yar's perspective, and they're going to look to stack onto A.
Well, it seems to be the wrong site to stack towards, as the majority of Protoss make their way up Banana using a lot of utility, and I think that's going to be one of the key things for this matchup. Protoss are not scared whatsoever to throw that util out there, and I feel like if ER can start to read into that and win that early utility exchange, maybe come out on top by just holding their ground, then that might be a recipe for success. But these Protoss players, they're, looking quite aggressive with their plays all right now.
Yeah, that AK's definitely in the right hands, and I see it as Anchor, but I think you see it as a different name.
Rio.
Yeah, Rio popping 2 quick fire kills back to back off it. Space Push there will also get another connection. Protos is able to get 1, and Rio is just gonna continue to spray into the dead corpses of Stato and Potatoes.
Well, move straight into the rifle rounds, the meat and bones of CS, as I like to call it. And Cody G has picked up an AWP. If he can get some instrumental picks, this could be the changing of the tides. But at the end of the day, ER, this is kind of where they need to make their stand. And you can see a B stack coming through. That's going to be where the AWP heads towards as well. So ER looks like their game plan right now is to just lock down Banana and hope that they can maintain some A control off this passive setup. But Protoss, they've been doing the same game plan of throwing a lot of util towards B and then forcing the issue towards A. Wild needs to go wild, only gets 1.5 there. And that's going to cause a big rotation from ER. Zyrex on an island here, but no one close enough to pressure him for the moment.
Yeah, I think Wild's unlucky then to get the final shot onto Liza. Did everything really did everything right, to get those connections on. Just very unfortunate with the way that RNG worked out for Wild in the end.
Yeah, Potatoes playing with fire on the edge of the smoke. Cody gets one from Pit, but it seems to be Potatoes that has the real pressure on him. And there's 2, spots bomb as well, and that's a 1 versus 4 on the cards for Zed Prof. Oh, I don't know if I'd advise Potatoes to be taking fights like that, but he gets away with it. Bomb control is in the hands of Zed Prof now, and it really is all to play for him, because this is gonna seem like an impossible task in front of him.
Yeah, there's a world there where Potatoes goes wild and just gets that last final shot on Zed Prof. But yeah, I think repeaking that is you're playing with fire most definitely. Zed Prof's made the right decision though. He's wrapped himself back around towards B. He's got a bit more or more options available with the utility he had available to him at that point. The smoke will land, but 22 HP left on him. Yeah, it's always going to finish in that way, isn't it, in fairness?
Yeah, Potatoes with a key spam through smoke, and that kind of made it made the push awkward, because he had to push through with low health and immediately expect the rotation to come through CT. So fair enough, but we do see a return of the force buy from Protos, all up in the hands of Rio, and so he's going to be trying to replicate some of the success that Cody had early. Oh, jump peek goes a miss. Rio won't connect, and suddenly the map is starting to shrink a little bit because Protoss aren't going for those early advances. As I say that though, they're just going to flash up middle and take all that space away from ER. No one there to receive, but they should be aware of this space being taken, and Protoss are kind of just waiting to see what the reaction is now.
Yeah, they're kind of... It's a weird sort of force buy in the first stance, but also it's kind of... I mean, with the way that they've been playing that utility game so far, you kind of expect them to really push up an AWP. Maybe not buy into your AKs off the back of it, but you expect them to push up an AWP at least anyway, and try to make that bit of extra space. They're a team that seem to be really happy to kind of take their time into fights. Taking the time is one thing. Wild will connect on to one. Cody G just going wild. He's not able to connect on the last. That's Rio that will finish off that push up, as I mentioned a few moments ago. And how is he able to connect onto that? Stater there not able to finish off 6 HP player of Rio. He's got the bomb plant and everything, Jammer, but I mean, not for long, I would imagine. 2 rifles going up against an AWP in this sort of scenario. There's utility there to use if needed as well also, but it's not required. And Yar will put number 2 on the board.
I was going to say that's going to completely come down to timings, and I'm not entirely sure about the timings of those pushes from these two players. You know, if Zyrex goes down there towards long, Potatoes has kind of already been heard towards middle because he was trying to sell the fake, trying to pull the attention away. It doesn't work out, you know, Rio's looking the right way, he just doesn't connect the shot, and that's unfortunate for him, but we're happy because ER have 2 rounds on the board, and now they're looking to add a couple more because Protoss have been sent back onto a deco buy.
Yeah, this is the danger of pushing that up, right? And having those that you know, kind of force up purchase where you have 2 players that stacked up on deagles. You know, it puts you in this sort of scenario unless you're able to re-cement things in. Oh! Space push just sent Stato into orbit. That was a hell of a shot there with the straight off the bat. Cody G will connect onto one, but he's going to fall immediately after him. Wild's got a lot to work with. So does Potatoes, in fairness. And his rifle's in play on this T side now, and Potatoes is low HP. He's going to drop in the end, not before taking space push down. And that's 2 half HP players, Jammer, to work with for Protos.
This is way too costly for ER right now. They need to stabilize. They need to win this round. But Rio with the up and Zprof with an AK on the site. This is going to be a hard crossfire to break. Almost evening the field in terms of armor and utility at this point. Time ticking down, so ER are feeling the pressure. Trying to find out where these players are coming from, but it's going to be a hard task so far. They're just playing their time. Rio made his presence known. Zprof now as well, but oh, they chime in together, and that's Rio with the knife. Protoss with 4 rounds on the board, and that's not a round you expect to lose if you're Yar.
No, that we gotta admit that space push initial frag is just that rocks Yar a little bit there. Feeling it kind of puts them off balance almost.
God, yeah.
Yeah, and you can kind of see then the collapsing in and around off the back of that. Let's be honest, Rio pulling out a knife there right at the very end, that's just like ESEA mentality, isn't it? In fairness, to push a rifle with a knife like that, but at the same time he's got the timing worked out perfectly, and you know, Protoss deserved that round, to be honest with you, the way that they played it in the end.
Yeah, nice timing to it. Protoss, they're getting taking advantage of the deagles themselves. Potatoes trying to scramble his way out of there, and he just barely escapes. 8 HP, 7, sorry, as I correct myself. And you are getting early advantage, but they still have these deagles to work with. And Protoss, they're not giving up any space.
This is exactly why I love playoffs, Jammer, because it's just like every battle is like a hard-fought battle. You know, it's not just, you know, a little tap here, a little tap there. Like, Potatoes puts himself in that position. You know, he's a man on an island, essentially. If he gets that initial pick, brilliant. But at the same time, he's not leaving there without getting a lick in. And, you know, 7 HP, that's a lot of damage to receive off the back of it. But getting that initial pick is definitely a game changer, because it forces Protoss' hand into switching directions. They switch the directions up, and that's 2 easy picks back-to-back there for Liza. That's going to be a site taken control of most effectively from Protoss.
Yeah, I think ER live and died by that top mid hold from Wild and Zeta, and I like the bait and switch idea, but it was just a little bit too simple, a little bit too much of a case of not hitting your shots, and that's just unfortunate, but retake's still kind of on. Orc attack down below, Rio just barely escapes, and this double pit sap is going to be very strong. It's going to be really hard to crack. I don't know if ER will even have time to do it. Zyrex does have a kit. It's just a matter of hitting your shots right now, and it's not going to work out. 2 players fall. Just Cody left alive, and he's going to be taken out very shortly as the players wrap around. Protos with a 5th round, and yeah, they need to come back into things because they have a bye now, but they're not looking as fortified as we were seeing at the start of the half, pretty much.
They need to watch these early aggressions coming in from Protos. I mean, we mentioned this, you know, 5 rounds ago, maybe 4 rounds ago now, where Protoss are really favouring this early utility usage and then that little bit of an aggression to check into that utility usage. Y'all need to be really, really conscious of the fact that, you know, once these flashes and these smokes are being pushed, there's going to be a rifle behind it pushing through the backside of it. Very much an NA play, which, you know, doesn't tend to be seen quite a lot in the ESEA at least, where you see that play and you're kind of breaking through that smoke line or breaking through that flashbang immediately off the back of it. But yeah, they need to be really careful of it and wary of it. Protoss obviously wouldn't do it in this round now that I've mentioned it, of course, but Stated, well, I don't know if that position's worthwhile now.
Yeah. Weird one, and that's a weird kill to pick up, but Rio picks up a second onto Wild, and now this A site's under question. Cody misses his shot. Suddenly, Protoss, they have a lot of space to work with, but Cody's taking it away bit by bit. Apps is going to be their point of attack, but Cody G is still locking down middle space, but caught off guard. Zed Prof can answer back, but it is just from the Apps area that they control everything on the A site right now.
Yeah, I think there needs to be, I'd say, a timeout at this point from Yar, depending on how this round finishes, of course. But yeah, there needs to be a reset here. Like, there needs to be a moment where they sit back and go, right, okay, these positions, these positions aren't working. Now I can understand why Rio is named Anchor in my game, if that's how they play. No, there needs to be like a reset, right? Like, Stato's position in there is just it's not
one
good.
And done. And
yeah,
in that kind of situation, you can't afford to get a one and done and then expect to win rounds off the back of it. Yeah,
exactly. Straight up Deeks though, coming in from Yar as they reset themselves in some way at least anyway, with no match pause in place. So we are going to see them continue to take the pressure that Protoss are putting into them on the first half of Inferno.
Yeah, one thing I do want to commend ER with is winning that utility battle at the top of Banana, but I think they're so committed to that kind of play and that kind of game plan that it leaves a lot of space for Protoss to come back towards B later on in the round and just clear it with maybe a smoke and a flash or something thereabouts. You can see it now, you know, even though it's a Deagle round, Protoss, they're using a lot of util all across the map, and this is kind of like their default. You know, they're taking top Banana, ensuring that they have it, and then immediately doubling back to A. And now, yeah, they really don't know where this is going because Protoss have done this exact thing before, but this time they go a lot slower.
They've changed it from sending shockwaves for that initial pick to now sending shockwaves the way that they're using utility, and they're kind of causing Yard to second guess quite a lot of the position they put in place. He should ramp up nicely though. Zyrex will pick up the first. He's going to repick into a second, but not take a shot. And in the end, you will actually repick a second and a third time. You'll land 2 connections off the back of it, but not enough to get the frag in the end. And this is now where the push comes in from Protoss. As they look to clear these dead zones. Pit is the man for Stader, and he unfortunately is the one to fall in the end. Marcis is going to clear up 2 as well, also, and that's B site. Oh, sorry, A site control completely lost. Anchor, or Rio, sorry, I should say, picking up potatoes in the end.
Yeah, Deagles were deadly, but not quite deadly enough to really challenge Protoss there. They stay alive with 3 players, and that can lead to a healthy economic situation, sorry. You can see they've got a little bit of wealth backed up behind them, and then ER, they're starting to come back into things now in terms of buying, but they don't really have a fallback option. This is kind of where they will live and die by, the hill that they stand upon. And now they need to just perform at the end of the day.
Oh no. That utility
not
usage.
A good start. Oh, it goes from bad to worse. Stata taken down early. They know Zyrex is up there and they take him out as well. 2 players still towards A, but it might not be enough because of the man situation that's just persevering right now. Protos, they're just prepared for these aggressions. Potatoes gets one on long, but he needs to be quick on the rotation to help his teammate. Wild needs to lock things down. There's the first. Rio spots the bomb, gets the second. Okay, there's a good start. 2 more players to find on short, and they're doubling up well. They're doubling up too well, in fact, and that's going to take Protos straight out of the round. 3rd for ER, and that's good, but might not be good enough because they still have a scrambling of a buy together. They will get full rifles, but not all the utility that they could want.
Excuse my random clap in there in the background. That was, yeah, doubling up quite nicely. I mean, I think that's probably the right way of putting it. You know, I kind of like I like the play from Yar, the little bit of extra commitment that we're seeing. Cody's quick, mine. You know, like, I mean, we've seen what two maybe 3 shots that they've not connected with the AWP from Cody so far today, and that's not a bad statistic when you think about it logically. You know, especially with the way that we've kind of seen Yar build up around AWPs in their recent matches. Fairly content with that, at least anyway. Now, this is an unusual situation to be in, because Protos haven't used a lot of utility into this push up towards Banana. More or less taking it for free, and I think that's as a result, as you've mentioned previously, of the amount of utility they've used before, that Yara are kind of backing themselves off away from it.
Well, Zyrex sitting in Apex, he watches one, takes him out, spots a second, tags him up, and then repositions. So this Georgian side's push into this B site has been known. It has been called out, and now it's just up to ER to hit their shots. And Elias sitting in the smoke, but Mars will be the one to fall. And this is just not worked out for Protoss right here. Been muffled in their push towards the B site. Stata even locking down the back lines, but Rio has an AWP and he has the bomb. 30 seconds to work with.
Sorry.
No, go on.
I was going to say, really well worked from Yar. I mean, like, you know, yes, they pull back into position away from, you know, the utility usage that wasn't there from B side, but when that little bit of, when Protoss starts showing that little bit of leg, you know, that position in Apex is usually a one and done, right? Like, you don't get out of that situation all too often unless you've got a good teammate with you that's there to use good utility. The smokes are perfect, giving cover on either side. There was a flashbang put into play as well. Also, I think that's why we didn't see the second connection come off onto Eliza. But there was definitely an Eliza-shaped bullet hole, you know, body block in behind him against the wall, essentially, because one of the shots that was slung at him through that smoke and missed. I think he's very lucky to have stayed alive for as long as he actually did. But a 4th on the board for Yar, Jammer.
Yeah, I think it was a thriving of the chaos situation. Rio's going to connect onto Cody G, and you said he was quick earlier, not quite quick enough then. These CT players on the A side are going to get caught off guard, completely wrapped upon by Protoss, and the pistols work again, Nick. This is a really weird situation because Protoss have been finding wild success with these pistol strats, and I'm not sure ER are kind of considering these rounds in the right way right now.
I don't think we've seen a side this season so far in the ESEA work so well with Eco. I mean, like, this is what, three times in a row, more or less, that Protoss been able to convert rounds off the back of it, or at least get to the point of converting rounds off the back of it. Zyrex is the man, though, to push swings in, but isn't able to connect on to too much. You get one, he's not going to be able to get the second. You'd have had that as well with the kit that he had.
Yeah, unfortunate there, but just doesn't have the men around him to support that push, and I think that is probably one of the swing points that we can talk about. You know, that Protoss get an 8th round, they get a wealth of you know, confidence coming behind that, and now they have a bit of economy now, 4 by 5 AKs. Cody G still on the AWP, and he's got some rifles around him, but I think right now, from what we've seen, ER haven't been chiming off and firing off all cylinders compared to what we need them to be right now.
Shout out to John, by the way, Slayer John, who sat in his living room with his fireplace looking hella good, watching the game on his big ass TV that he has. Not jealous in any way, shape, or form, John. In fairness, mate, he's even got a beer, Jammer. Me and you can't drink, can we? You know.
Well, maybe we can share one with Yar after they conclude their open campaign, but they've still got a couple of maps to get through first. 8 rounds for Protos, though. They've got a phenomenal start on their T side. Or a B split, respectively, coming through. Cody G spots one, but you can't really challenge for more with that HP. Taters is going to have to go huge right here, and it looks like they might check. Oh, they barely spot his elbow, and that's going to be it. Just Zyrex now left to lock things down. He's on an island. He gets one, but that's all he gets. And this 3 versus 3 is not on the cards, Nick. But yeah, they're going to go for it anyway.
Rio's been instrumental in the way that Protos are playing. I think that goes without saying. He seems to be everywhere and anywhere. Always at the very front of the fight as it starts to materialise. Excuse me as my voice breaks for whatever reason. Do you rate this push through though? I mean, there's no head armor on any of the players, but weapons are good to bring into the next round, right? Not that they're going to be able to bring any.
I think with the economic situation ER are in, I think they can afford to concede that one. I think giving Protoss a 9th and saving 3 rifles is better than this situation here. You know, you kind of talk about high risk, high reward plays. That's exactly the downside of it. You know, you get the high risk, but you don't get the reward. And now you're only bringing the AWP into the next round. Probably scramble 1, maybe 2 rifles around it, but that's about it into round 14.
Indeed. So I lost my train of thought. I do apologise. It's been a long 12 months, Chavo. Anyway, 9-4 is the scoreline. It's still in favour of Protoss. I will put the scoreboard up in a bit for you, over. Just when we get to half time. By I will, I mean the game will. I think that's it. But you know what I mean anyway. The thought is still there nonetheless. This utility usage by Protoss is just crazy good, especially when on the big sort of swing push like this into B site.
I think it shows a level of care that we don't often see from the regular season teams in Open. You know, they're more than keen to throw out utility to cover all their bases, but you can't cover bases like that. Against Wild, Pyrex not going to connect through the smoke to any sufficient degree. Cody G with the AWP here. They're trying to make it work, trying to force the issue and see what they can get with it, but I think that smoke is going to be the nail in the coffin. That's going to allow Space Push and his teammate to dance around that. No. Okay, all right. This might work. Suddenly it's all onto Space Push. He's residing in the smoke and they don't realize he's here. He's pushed through and oh, this is going to be it, Nick. It's all done. It's all dusted. I say that, though. Wild could pick up the kit, and he still wins the round. How's he done that?
I don't get this anymore. I'm moving to Overwatch, Jammer. I don't understand this game anymore. My days. I would say match point. End of the first half. 9-5 is the scoreline. Protoss, won it most definitely, of course. But that last round is something somewhat of a head scratcher for me, to be completely honest with you. Space Push is in a perfect position, right? Like, I mean, you can't argue with the position that he's in. He swings onto 3 players, connects against 2, but he's just not able to get the 3rd kill off the back of it, and Yar put a 5th on the board. And for once, the RNG gods shine beautifully onto esports wheels, Yar.
Well, that will be a 5th round. They only survived with 1 player, but we're in the final round of the half, so anything and everything that you can buy will be bought into towards this one. You are trying to get that 6th round and try and make things somewhat healthy moving into the second half. Protoss trying to make their lead healthy in terms of their camp, reaching that 10-5 scoreline. Wild, he's completely clocked on to this lack of mid push, even though there's quite a bit of utility behind this. I'm surprised that Cody G isn't rotating over towards B, but of course we can't tell what's going on in game. There we go, that util of the Molotov and the smoke's flying over. We'll pull the rotations. Protoss gonna execute onto B and Potatoes in Apex and Zyrex put out of nowhere. I don't know what the plan was there. Cody will connect through the gap in the smoke and that's gonna be a helping hand moving forward, but it's a 3 versus 3 retake that didn't have to happen this way.
Sidler's gone the long way around to get back into position to try and recover this final round of the first half there, coming up in a perfectly timed position actually through into Banana, catching Rio very clean headshot indeed. He's got some utility to kind of help his teammates push forward with it. Flashbang will play out, and he'll be able to connect onto another. Cody G will also pick up space push, and that's a well-earned 6th round on the board.
Yeah, 6-9 at the end of half, and I've got to talk about Stater there. I need to
Yeah,
praise him
yeah.
because of how disheartened he was to not get my approval earlier on in the season. Stater, good job there, mate, because he was really instrumental picking up Rio towards Banana. That kind of eliminates the crossfire setup from that kind of plant hold, and then he's able to use his utility effectively to help his teammates out and even pick up some kills moving onto the site. So well done there, mate.
Yeah.
You can not be too disheartened with your performance now. But yeah, 9-6, it's good enough. I don't know, it might come back to haunt ER if they're, not gonna have their strongest T side. Because I think one thing that's fair enough to say about this ER side is they definitely seem to be strong on their CT sides. At least to my eye.
I'd agree with that as well. So they need to be very, very conscious of how they play pistol out. I think is what they need to be extremely conscious of. If Yar can convert pistol, and we've seen them do it on T side Inferno time and time again. It's not it's not a million miles away for them to convert pistol and then convert the 2 rounds following after. Against a team like Protos, the way that they've been playing so far. I mean, actually, look at the way the purchase comes through from Protos. Eliza with all that utility, smoke, flash, and also a frag there to throw out as well. It's not going to connect in anything in the end, but yeah, the way that Protos are kind of building themselves up to play, it's going to be hard fought to really put that pistol on the board, but we'll see what happens at least anyway.
I'm going to say the win condition for this half is to eliminate Rio as an AWP. He was instrumental at the end of the half. I think he got like 18 or 20 something kills.
Yeah.
And so if they can stifle that AWP, then I think they're making their lives easier against this Georgian side. But yeah, you can see them making their way over towards B. There's only one player here. So if they're quick about this, if they're trading efficiently and effectively, they've completely got the B site for free and Protos will be on for the retake. I would say taking church control, exactly like what they're doing here, is instrumental. Because if you take church control, that makes the retake so much harder. And there you go. They have church control. Protos need to be on watch. And I don't even know if they can go for this, to be honest.
Look at the way that that Yar have extended out on this T-side round as well. 2 players immediately up in towards Church, 2 down towards Banana, waiting for those retake players to push in. Call should now be to fall back into site itself. Potatoes and Cody is just clearing house. And Space Push is somehow still alive at 1 HP. He'll connect onto Potatoes in the end, but Cody G will finish that round off. I mean, okay, I want to draw back a second, take a 2-second breather. The way that their post-plan positioning then, that's a playbook move. That's something that they've clearly been practicing. We take side control, we push out, and we extend out. We make sure that we cover both angles. We got church control, brilliant stuff. Banana still needs to be kept wary of as well, though. Obviously, you and I have got the benefit of seeing everything. They don't, so they don't know that. I'm not saying anything else. Oh, okay. He's punished. Yeah. Stato did wonderfully there. No. Oh my days. I'm going to give him praise in a minute, but we'll do it when the post-round finishes. Rio is just... Okay, we've now figured out that Rio is playing A-side, right? That's the affirmed thing of it. So let's rotate, get ourselves in towards B, and this is exactly what Yard do. They take it more or less for free. They have used some utility to push into side just to clear those dead zones. Wild will pick up Rio on mid, and... That's 3 AKs out on the field, more or less. 1 Gleal, 2 AKs, I think.
It was a Mac 10.
Oh, Mac 10. There you go.
Yeah, it was the Mac 10 was traded, I think, with Potatoes.
Yeah.
Not quite sure, but this is way too costly already.
Yeah.
Protos, they can push the issue. They've only got pistols, no armor, no kits, but they've really invested minimally. And oh no, that's a spotting. And okay, there we go. Zyrox calms it down. He will finish out the round. 9-8, ER do claw their way back, but again, that's way too costly, and Rio is hitting shots right now, my friend.
Yeah, 21-10, Jammer. They really need to start sectioning that corner of the map off as soon as they realise the side controls that he looks to majority play within. Pushing opposition sides is probably going to be more beneficial. But even then, I mean, look at this now. This is the 3rd round into the second half, and this is the opposite site that he's been for the last one, but back to the original site he was in for the first round. So like, it feels like Rio is playing as an anchor, if that makes sense. Yeah. You know, he's playing whichever site that he feels his team are kind of weakest on. It's kind of weird that he's playing as an anchor with the name anchor for me, but you know, like that's kind of what we're seeing from him at least. I think from here on in, though, I mean, obviously Protos now with their first kind of big-ish rifle round. I say ish because there is a a FAMAS out there in the mix. But this should be really Yar's kind of chance to shine on through and show us that good utility usage that we've seen from him in the past. The bomb is going to make its way to Banana Jammer. It looks like we're heading towards B.
I like the util usage from ER to sell the top mid take, but they've not shown any real presence there in terms of throwing bodies in that direction, and that might not sell the fake so much. You can see the immediate rotation from the utility smoking off, but ER, they're going to push their way through it. They're making their way across the site, but they haven't cleared it fully, and I think that smoke on the middle of the site is going to be a problem for them. They do spot him out, and there's a tiny kill from Potatoes, but Rio's answered back through the smoke. That's unfortunate. This retake is completely on. Oh, they're tagging down through the smoke. That's unfortunate, but no kills quite yet for Protos. They're still keen to push the issue, and they have church control, so can make this work to an extent. Oh, Potatoes almost caught off guard. That's a classic of the ships in the night. Sees the shadow and takes out Rio, but the rest of the push is coming through. Oh, not going to be successful though, as Zyrex, Wild, and Sata combine, and that's a healthy round in the end for ER, but it almost wasn't because there were a couple of players quite low there, Nick.
Yeah, Wild just staring at the back of Space Push like, wait a minute, is that a CT? Maybe? Like, half glimpsing through the smoke itself, but they draw level. I mean, that's 3 rounds on the bounce from Yar that have been very shaky towards the end, but there's still 3 rounds on the board. And you know, the same thing that you and I have always said from the get-go. Rounds on the board is what we want to see from Yar at the end of the day. We want to see that confidence building up from them. You know, do a bit more with the confidence and kind of build off the back of it. So, yeah, 9-9 being the scoreline, I think we're getting towards that happier sort of place. What's not happier, though, for me is that Mag 7 in play. I like the initiative and the idea from Rio to pick it up and kind of like stack up towards that wall, up towards B at Banana, just begging for a player to come towards him. But thankfully, Yar have read into that stack and they're moving their way around in towards A site.
Yeah, I think the rotations need to come through for Protoss right now, but yeah, they're making good progress. They need to try and make it a little bit quicker, and that smoke is really good actually from Protoss in pit. I'm not sure how many players are in there or anything else. That's another good smoke, but Drew's going to cut the site in half, but it doesn't matter because ER have completely taken everyone out. Only Rio with the Mag 7 initially over towards Banana, now left to pick things up, and I don't fancy his chances he's going to even save it.
I think he's looking for an exit frag if anyone tries to push themselves through CT. Let's not forget as well, he has fired off a shot or two with that Mag 7, so you know there's going to be that audible knowledge from Yar going, well, I ain't going CT, boys. Like, you know, I'm backing off towards T. I ain't messing with that, especially with the amount of HP that we've got on players like Wild, for example, Zyrex even more so. You know, even then, a full HP player can get dominated and destroyed by that Mag 7.
Yeah, I do like that game plan from ER. They just hit their shots on the A site, and that's critically what you need to do. I think moving forward, they need to do more stuff like that because that was a really healthy round in the end for them. And you can see they're starting to build up a well of economy themselves on the T side. So, you know, I called them out earlier, saying that their T sides weren't as good as their CT sides typically. But you know what? They're proving me wrong, and I'm glad to see it. But I do see a match pause, and I'm hesitantly going to say it's from Protoss, but we have no idea. We can't confirm.
No, again, as always with the ESEA, we cannot see who's called pause. So, yeah, I mean, it could be Protoss. I would imagine it's probably Protoss, to be honest with you. Again, I think I'd agree with you on that they've lost 4 rounds on the bounce, more or less, into the second half, and you know, that dominant lead they had towards the end of the first half has kind of been swallowed up by some really unfortunate plays from them. But we see another pause, so I'm assuming it's probably not attack pause, Jammer. It might be that a player's had to, you know, nip to grab a drink maybe or something. I don't know. I mean, what would you be doing at this point if you had a double pause up back to back?
Continue to talk to my teammates about the plan of attack. because I'm a good
You wouldn't be going to nip into the toilet, or going to grab a drink real quick, nothing like that.
Perhaps, but
Okay.
don't know. In terms of this case, though, I'm really curious to see if Rio returns to top banana with that Mag 7
Yeah.
and see how ER decide to tackle it, because they're aware that he saved it. I don't know if they'll read into the fact that he's kept it.
Mm.
And you can see the top banana smoke, so I don't know if this is advisable. Nice flash through the smoke, and they spot him out, so dealt with it really well, but Elias, he's answering back, and that's 2 big kills. He can even run back off it just barely. Oh, that's a good answering from Zprof, and that's completely eliminated this push from ER. Unlucky, unfortunate, but at the end of the day, just caught off guard. 1 versus 4 on the cards for Stater. There's a time for him to come alive. Now is the time, but if need help, I don't fancy his chances, and Moise is going to take him out of the server. I don't know what to make of that. They tackle Rio well, pushing through the top banana smoke that Protos have been using consistently, but you can see exactly why they're using that smoke, because players pushing through are just going to have like no chance compared to players just holding down that smoke from the other side. And so I think it's a bit of an unfortunate situation. ER can afford to wait it out, but they're just not keen to.
I think it's also a case of like unfortunate timing with that top banana as well. Yeah, as you mentioned, they deal with Rio perfectly, and then it's just unfortunate that there's a swing peat that comes off the back of it. There's a double kill off the back of that. The second 2-piece I don't believe is just bad timing. I think that's just very well played and well managed play. Rio is able to pick up 1 straight away off the bat as far as that push is concerned onto banana, and that will put things in its place, as well as Zprof pushing forward there with the MP7. Oh, MP9. What am I talking about? I can't remember gun names, Jammer. I'm awake, am I? I'm not dreaming, am I?
Well, we might be in fairy tale land, because they've been taken out by 2 man. And now I want to talk about that while we've got a lonely action. And I think if you're going to commit to that spot from ER, you need to make sure you commit early, and you're actually forcing Protos off the mark, because you saw a player just sitting behind top car there. He was reloaded behind it, and he just had given all the freedom to do so. But the push is coming through to A, and it's not going to work as Moise takes down the final 2 players. Unfortunate for ER, but I think Protos, they're just being given way too much slack on the line.
Yeah. We've seen teams like that, though, that will just grab onto that little bit of extra rope that you've given them and pull, and continue to pull and take it all the way. Just pull that round difference back up, and then pull more and more rounds off the back of you. On a eco with some utility usage that they can use to good effect to push in towards A site. I mean, we can see the AWP is lined up towards B in the hands of Rio. Just depends on what we can get off the back of these Tech 9 push.
Yeah, a lot of util coming out from Protos. They've heard these players in second middle. They're aware of the situation that's in front of them, and the players are keen to fight. They're so ready, saying, here I am, come get some. Tech 9's spamming through, but it's just not going to work out, and the meat grinder is put into action. Space push, churning up some players, just Wild left alive, and he's got nothing to show for that push into apartments. Space push even cleans things up with a 4K in the end, so perhaps, trying to push advantages that they can't get away with. And so Protos, they've got a 12th round, and I know he didn't activate last round, but Rio's got an AWP in his hands finally, and I'm a little bit scared of that fact.
Yeah, same. I mean, the other thing to take into consideration is... Sorry, I've got my ways right around here. Yeah, Rio with an open hand is definitely a scary prospect. Look at the amount of aggression. He's pushed through that molly as well, Jammer. Down to 12 HP. Oh, he stuck around to try and get the pick. Yeah, it is unconfirmed. It's unconfirmed damage. But the fact that he's that kind of player to just stick around in it to be as long as possible to get that 1 pick off the back of a molly, he's looking to just convert the damage that he's taken into an extra, notch in his rifle for his team essentially at that point.
Yeah, you can see though we're not even at the 1 minute mark, and Rio is the only player with utility pretty much in his belt.
Yeah.
Everyone else has expended everything they had. ER should make short work of this with a push together, but they've got no util of their own, and they're just walking up short. They're giving time for Protos to rotate in fact, and this is the meat grinder. 3 players on the site that they need to find, and there you go. Even the util putting some pressure on them in the end. That's unfortunate, but yeah, they kind of run out of ideas in these critical situations.
Yeah, that's a big match pause coming in as well, and I believe that's going to be. I think we'd agree that's going to be a Yar pause. Again, we can't see who's calling pause, so it could be either team, but I would imagine it's probably going to be a Yar pause, given how that last round played out.
Yeah, man, this is such a hard game to watch because it
Yeah.
really is a case of ER. You know, they're playing well. They're just perhaps missing the mark on a couple of key moments, and that's really punished them quite hard. As well as the fact that you've got players like Rio and Space Push at 23 and 26 apiece, and they got low deaths as well. It shows that ER aren't really, you know, converting on the kills that they can get, but they've still been, you know, managing to piece together rounds. So it's a matter of a question of, you know, why is that the case? And I think that's partly due to ER's keenness to kind of retake in every situation. I think they've been way too comfortable in risking it all, and I think it's really starting to punish them now.
We do still have map 2 coming up though. After this one, I don't think the veto went through for me to be able to see. Oh wow, I was gonna say I don't think the veto went through for me to see what map 2 is going to be, but as soon as I know that you guys will know. Not that I'm saying this map is over and done with, of course. There's still plenty of action to potentially come from it. Depends how Yar can really perform in their sequel round.
Well, that's the bomb spotted towards long. They're trying to get this B split enacted, and the bomb does get past, but there are so many CT players over towards this long side, and Cody G has them hold off. Zprof even lurking around, so it's just a matter of time. He gets closed down upon 14 to 10 as the young Georgian side starts to mount their victory on the first map of this best of 3. Of course, in the playoffs, I believe it's a single elimination all the way through, so if ER lose this best of 3, that's it. Their season's done. But as you said, there are rounds to play. There are other maps even. I just kind of... Oh, that's unfortunate. But yeah, as I was saying, I just hoped that they would get off to a better start than this.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree. I think it's as you mentioned earlier, and I'm gonna repeat it basically because it's definitely a true and sound mind statement to make. It is difficult to watch, isn't it? You know, when you anticipate how well the second half started for Yar, and then it's kind of all, yeah, for lack of a better way of putting it, kind of faded away more or less.
Yeah.
I want to see good connections. I mean, we've had rounds where, you know, Yara pulled off these incredible frags that we don't expect him to get. Zprof picking up 2 of his own there before Weld's able to put him down. Moss is able to convert off 1 as well off the back of it. Losing those fights where you're getting 2 of your own taken down in the initial push is definitely delaying the damage. That damage coming out from utility, and Space Push is going to finish it off. I think another play that we haven't really talked a massive amount about is Space Push. 29 and 17 Jammer at the moment.
Yeah, he even picks up the secondary or what is going on.
They're looking to seal the deal on this one already, mate.
Yeah, when these ER players look back at this demo, I think one thing that will be remarkable to them, as it has been to me, is Protos, they use their utility very early, but they keep like key bits of util, and they use them so well. Like that last round broke down completely because of that molly towards long, and then the push is behind it, double push in fact. And I can only commend them for that. You know, they might not, you know, use their util optimally, but they use it really effectively in those pinch moments when they need to. You know, you saw earlier I was talking about them having no util, but they've got 3 players stacked towards the A site, and then even their AWPer Rio's in library with some util. So as the engagement comes through, Rio can still use his util pretty safely, even though he's out, not in the open, but he's vulnerable.
Yeah, exactly. He's got not a lot of room to maneuver with, but because of the amount of utility that's left to be put into play, doesn't matter that he hasn't got a lot of room. He can basically invent the room that he needs at that point. Yeah, look, this is exactly what we're talking about with the utility usage. Space Plus there will swing out, get the initial pick, pop a little bit of utility off, and then when he falls back, he's dropping that utility forward, getting it into a position where it can be put to the best use.
Even that flash there, Protos are feeling so confident. Look at that. Look at Ella's. He's pushed through apps. He's in the back lines. He's behind them. He's going to miss them all. But Wild or someone, I don't know who to even call out for that, because that's just an unorthodox push. He pushes through his own smoke. Wild has it all to do now. 1 versus 5. He's got a player behind him. And there we go. That will be all said and done. 16-10 for the first map of this best of 3 in the ESEA Open playoffs.
Yep, it is single elimination playoffs as well. I've managed to find my crib sheet of ESEA stuff. Yeah, it's a single elimination. So I mean, tonight is the night. Basically, we need to see the second map kind of swing into the favor of Yar sooner rather than later. That way then we can hopefully get to a map 3 and who knows, potentially put it back and take us through into the next round of the playoffs itself. Jammer, I think we'll take a very small break. We'll be back with you shortly with the second map of the evening. See you soon. ladies and gents, we're back with map 2 of 3. We're going to be jumping into Vertical momentarily, Jammer, but you've been doing a bit of research in the background there while we've been talking about happenings within the greater CS scene anyway. Fill me in on what you found so far about Protos and this map, because obviously we've seen Yar play it quite a fair bit, so...
Yeah, I think if I give a little bit of an overview for the viewers at home. So based off what we've done in terms of research, we can tell that Inferno was probably a Protoss pick, and therefore Vertigo was an ER pick, and that's because Protoss have yet to play an official match on Vertigo in ESEA. But I've done some digging, and I did manage to find out that this squad has played once on Vertigo on another platform, a rival platform that I'm not sure if I'm allowed to mention or not. And
we're not... Well, this isn't... You
we're
should
not
be
being
fine
paid
to.
by
Yeah,
them.
we're not being paid by ESEA. Like,
Okay,
Esports
yeah,
Wales
yeah.
are
So
paying us, so
basically,
yeah.
Protoss have played Vertigo once on Face It as a squad, and they lost 16-8. So I would hesitantly say that the odds are stacked in ER's favor, but I think it's up to them to kind of take advantage of those odds and lock it in, because I think Protoss are going to be coming into this one with some confidence.
It's who turns up, isn't it? You know, like who turns
Yeah.
up on the day to this map. This is like this is very much the overpass conversation that we tend to have quite a lot. It's like who turns up to overpass. That's who wins it, more or less. You can have a really good game or a really poor game. For me, Vertical is kind of like that as well with a lot of teams. You know, you can have a team of players that play this map in ESEA and have only ever won the map, you know, never lost it or you know, outperformed other teams like incredibly well over the time that they've been playing it. And then you can have a team that will do that, go into it against a team that have never played it and just have like the worst game of their life because of confidence issues and whatnot. But yeah, I would hesitant to say that this is a Yar pick and this should really be us going to map 3 if everything plays out the way that we kind of anticipated. But yeah. I think, you know, the big question mark at the minute is how, you know, Yar can kind of pull things together, especially with we mentioned it in, you know, in post map 1 conversation. You know, there is a man missing that we've seen quite a lot of over the season, being Tree. You know, Wild stepping in for Tree is you know, it's not unheard of course, but like, you know, I wonder if that's having a bit of an impact into the gameplay as well also.
Yeah, Tree was statistically, and I want to say, you know, in terms of the team confidence from what we've seen outside, you know, from an outside perspective, sorry, that Tree was kind of like their willing forward player. You know, he was the one that would go for those aggressive picks. He'd get, you know, openings. He'd lock down sites on his own. He was kind of like their kind of star player for all intents and purposes. And I don't want to say that with like disrespect to the other players, but it's just kind of a fact of the matter right now. And the fact that he's missing, I think, will definitely be a impactful factor into this game moving forward, especially considering, you know, Inferno was probably one of Tree's best maps, and I'm not too sure, you know, how comfortable, or I don't remember how comfortable he was on Vertigo, but I think ER, they're definitely missing this guy.
Yeah, definitely. I think having a player like him in the server, going up against a player like Rio, you know, where you can really see that there's a I don't want to say a skill gap. Like, skill gap is probably the worst way of putting it, but yeah, exactly. You want to see a player that can really compete against another player like that. You know, you want to see a guy that can step outside of his comfort zone and take on a player that potentially is higher rated. Is probably the better way of putting it. I'm trying to be really like not negative person about it, but it's very difficult to do so when you're in that sort of situation. But the big push is going to start to happen. Said Prof is going to be the man to answer the call to begin with, and he does. Cody and Protos. Stato's actually, sorry, just dropping immediately there. While the Stato will pick up 2 off the back of it, but they're quickly taken care of as well. And Zedprof's on for an ace here, Jammer.
Yeah, all 4 kills in the round. ER, no answer for him. Just Cyrex left alive, and Zedprof is going to clean up with the ace. 5 kills for him, and I'm sure he'll be happy to collect that highlight reel. But that's a first round for Protoss, and that's most unexpected.
Yeah, that is. That's yeah. I mean, that happened. I think the thing that we need to break down here at this point is that mid-level control Zedprof is in a position where normally it's a one and done, you can fade away quite nicely from it, but he doesn't choose to fade away, and Esports Wheelchair kind of line up for him more or less. They're pushing all those players tight left up against that wall to get themselves into position over the jump, you know, and that's kind of given a helping hand towards Zedprof's positioning. Feeling that though, let's push on and push forward into round 2, and there's a little bit of unconfirmed damage that's been handed out to Potters. Potatoes. I'm doing my head in here. And Zyrex as well, also taking a bit.
Head.
Yes, definitely. Gonna have my head. I promise you, it is unintentional, lads. I swear to you. If you're hearing this in about an hour or two's time, once you finish this best of 3. This position, Jammer, the jump up, the layup is ready for it, but it's not going to connect with anyone because they're pushing up behind the back of scaffolding.
Yeah, I think they've game planned this really well to combat this kind of a play. I just don't know if the final 2 players will expect this kind of play. This is so tense right now. Moist just locking down this boost area. They're conscious of it, but on the wrong side, and there you go. He's picked up a kill. They know where these players are coming from, and the util straight behind it. So Protos playing really well, and they're churning down these players. Haven't answered back yet. There we go. There's Cody with 1, with 2. Trying to find a third. Bomb's lost, but definitely hit a couple more shots. Gonna buy for the angle. Try and get that connection, but it's laboured and it's not going to come through. 3 for Moist as Protos pick up a second round.
Yeah, Moist is just in the perfect position. I want to kind of highlight something as well. Moist is in that position, takes on the initial pick. He does get a bit of trade away damage that happens to him, but the minute that the ball is called, Space Push instantaneously pushes round to get himself to back of scaffold. That utility usage is perfect to give him that little bit of extra room to manoeuvre to get himself into position to put the MP9 to work, essentially. And that's why he's able to pick up the initial frag. It's good team play coming in from Protos. Not unseen so far from the first half.
Yeah. Well, Protos, they're off to a good start. 3 rifles in their hands now in this pistol round, and that nade is going to do a chunk of damage to Cody, knocking him down to 5 HP. Now, Protos, they're giving a lot of space over towards ER, so playing things well and playing with the rotations fairly well. You can see even rotations across the board because Protos are scared of that middle push, but we can see that these players are going to be pushing around towards A, and they can't get much done, not even a kill. Protos with a healthy 3rd round, and now we need to start to see ER come back into things.
Yeah, they're going to put a damper on things. They need to kind of, I mean, I would say they need to kind of section off Zedprof because he's now turned into the Rio from map 1. You know, sitting pretty at 8-1 at the moment, and he's taking all like those dangerous fights and coming out on top against Yar. This is the big crunch round though, as we've mentioned many times before, Jammer, where you know the metal meets the flesh, or whatever the terminology that you normally use. I can never remember to say correctly. You know, this needs to be one on the board for Yar, otherwise they get into this like instantaneous deficit of having to equal back to back.
These are really weird smokes, and I think it's showing a little bit of unfamiliarity of Protos for this map. They do retain ramp control this time, sitting very far up. Potatoes trying to sell a fake, trying to show some presence over towards B. We can see, of course, that 3 players from Yar reside over towards that inner ramp area, and look at this util usage. It's staggered, but it's laboured, and it's not going to work out. Actually, there you go. There's 2 kills for Yar. No answering back from Protos, and there's only 1 more player over towards A. We'll try and rotate into position, but Yar, they've gone silent, and they're just completely letting Protos walk into their own death. But oh no, they're juggling with nades, and there's a player so close. That's going to be Moist, and I don't know if they're going to consider it. They look away at the wrong moment, and there's 2, almost a 3rd, as he spots out the entirety of Yar, barring Stater. These final 2 players from Protos knock things down, but Stater takes down the back lines, and now there's only 1 left to find. The MP9 chimes in. Oh, that could be a second. There you go. And this is so tense. Elias, has the perfect angle for this, and Stater can't do anything. He's cut out of the round. There you go. It's done.
There's going to be an amount of disappointment in that Discord conversation for Stater, I would imagine, for just not being in the position quick enough. But I think it's more so the fact that two of his teammates are taken down in such a fashion. That MP9 coming through the back end of smoke like that, catching two players off guard, and Stater's not able to get himself into assist. Essentially, at that point, he's still playing the backlines, coming through those backlines as quick as he possibly can. 4-0 is the scoreline, and still in favour of Protos. We've seen second wins from Yardo on maps like this, Jammer, where they've suddenly gone, wait a minute, we're playing CS, and they start to work things more beneficial into their favour, at least. As long as that Molotov never happens again, I think they'll be happy, at least, anyway.
I think they've been playing well so far, but I think Protos' heads-up play right now is just remarkably good. They're looking a lot more conditioned on this map than perhaps you'd guess they are. I think that's just the virtue of playing with confidence. These guys are taking liberties. They know the basics of the game, and they can just coordinate themselves around however they want, because they're just looking like smart players, honestly, right now.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Well, Potato's still trying to sell this fake over towards B, but gonna have to be this two-man hold from Protos, and base push, he's locking things down with your... Oh! Even adjusting, jumping up to close things down, and that's a fifth for Protos. Space push with a remarkable three-man clutch on the side. I don't even know how to react to that. That was sick.
That second kill was just... That second kill was nuts. I mean, on my screen, I don't know how it looked for you, at least anyway, but it was like the player wasn't even in his scope, and he still managed to grab it up.
Yeah, you just see the tiniest bit of ankle.
Yeah, these display utilities are coming in quite nicely from Protos, but there's just nothing there to build off the back of it at the moment from an esports village perspective. They're waiting to start connecting these frags. Zyrex is going to be able to push into space push and kill the man who's definitely winning things up for Protos at the moment, but the rest of the damage is laid out onto them instead. And 6 on the board for Protos, and should see a good buy round coming in from Yarb, but it's what they can make of the buy round, Jammer.
Yeah, you can see again their push was disjointed, and even though players like Rio haven't had much success so far, I think we've seen some new players come to the fray. Moist and Space Push, locking things down. Zprof as well, he had that remarkable start. He might be slowing down, but 9-2 isn't a bad scoreline. And then on the other side of things, have really been struggling on this one. I think they've just been caught off guard way too much, and they're going to push the issue right now. I don't know if it's advisable, but they're getting a lot of space, and there you go, Space Push taken out. Couple more players left to find, but dancing on the edge of trying to fight for these locations.
I like
the rotation.
Yeah, I literally just want to mention it as well. Look at the way that they're wrapping round. It's not unheard of to see teams do it like that on Vertigo, but to do it in the position that they are at the moment, it's because of the amount of money they've got in the bank, right? Like, they don't really have too much of a care in the world as such, because they've got money to spend into follow-on rounds. But yeah, the way that rotation plays out is nice to see from... Aside that we both kind of looked at going, well, they may not be too good at this map, but it turns out they are.
Turns out they are indeed. 2 more players to find. Now 1 versus 2. Ellas versus Wild and Cody. This is still anyone's round, because Bomb hasn't gone down, and he's lurking on the edge of the smoke. Oh, there was a timing there. Oh, I think as that smoke faded, Wild might have been able to spot out the edge outline of that player, but not going to work out, and this is tense right now. Trying to spot out where Ellas is. That boost, there we go. Been spotted, gets 1, but not the second, as Cody's been taken out. Wild with a 4K, locking things down, but that's ER's first round.
I mean, 1 on the board, happy days. Do you mean? It's not a 16-0. But I think the other thing to take into consideration is that, I mean, I'm a bit shook at the minute the way that Protos are kind of playing their CT side on this map.
Yeah.
It just goes to show, doesn't it? Like in our kind of industry of esports casting and commentary, you can't always stack things on statistics. And
yeah,
this is kind of like proof in the pudding at the moment, which is kind of why I'm a little bit shook at, because I'm looking at all You know, I'm looking at all the stats that are available to us. Both of us have, and Protos have not had good fun in this map, but yet they're playing in the way that they are, and they're playing with confidence as well, which is kind of like what's making me a bit more kind of wary about it. But regardless of that, that fact is done and dusted. Yara have got one on the board. Happy days, boys. Bring it on. Let's see a few more of them, you know, weird rounds getting put on the board.
Well, we are trying to retake some ramp control, but Zed, Prof, and Space Push, they're just pushing out and they're winning the frags. 3 between them. That's punishing, to say the least. Potatoes and State are just walking out in the open. Now State are left in a 1 versus 5 because Protos have literally just walked out and took every single frag. State with 2, there's a third to find. He'll finally turn around to pick it up. Now a 1 versus 2 could be the ace clutch for this man, and that would be impact at a time that ER really desperately needs it. But I cannot believe that ER have fallen in the way that they have so far. That's...
It's crumbling.
Am trying hard to not...
Yeah, I know. I get you, bro, and I genuinely do, because we've had this conversation, you know, time and time again. We want to be as positive as we possibly can with Yao, but at the same time, there just seems to be these little... Oh, he's so lucky to get away with that.
It's done. The round's done.
Yeah, he's lucky to get away with not getting killed there, but at the same time, bring her on the Rosie. It's weird that both our heads went the same thing there, isn't it, in fairness?
I was going to say, Rio hasn't got a kill yet this game, but he won a round just by virtue of existing.
Yeah, like literally just by existing. How he's missed that shot on the stage, I don't know, to be completely honest with you. If you're completely still planting bomb, you're the easiest target, right? And he somehow manages to whiff it, but in reality wins the round on the basis of a Dina whiff. Big swing coming in. I mean, they're favouring it every time, aren't they? Getting that big push out. Cody is going to even the playing field in the end, and Cyrex is also helping things out, but Stato is taking down Space Push on low HP. He's still chiming in there, and he's able to pick up not 1 but 2 off the back of it, and it's now a 1v3, and Wild's got everything to do, and not a lot of time to do it in, unfortunately.
I think the angle management and the kind of pre-firing aspect of this Protoss push, especially towards A, is just catching you off guard. They've got no space and no room to breathe. There's just constant hails of bullets flying in their direction, and they aren't prepared for it. There's no other way around it. They're just not prepared for it right now. Yeah,
there's no reaction to it as well. You know, you tend to see a side like this where you're getting... I hate to use this terminology, and you know that I very rarely use this terminology, but when you're getting battered, like, you know, and you're in the bad sort of way, you expect there to be some kind of like big reaction off the back of it. Try something new, you know, have a bit, for lack of a better way of putting it, have a bit of fun with it. Yes, this is playoffs. Yes, you know, you're down 1 map, but if you're now sitting at 8-1 and nothing is working, try something out of the ordinary. You know, try and invent something, for that lack of a better way of putting it. But Yar seem to be kind of like pushing into those same sort of positional holds from Protos, and like you said, they've got good skills and drills, and it's showing in the way that the score lines are drifting.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this is going to sound more mean than I mean it to be, but Protoss are literally just playing as if it's matchmaking right now, and I mean that in the sense that they are going for those hero pushes, they're using their util early, and they're, you know, just taking advantages that they shouldn't be getting away with it, but they are. And if they're getting away with it, then they don't have to respect what ER's putting on the table. They don't have to respect any map control that's been taken. But yeah, right now, the case in point is just the way that Protoss won that last round. You know, they literally just swung out and picked up every single kill that they faced. That's just unfortunate, to say the least. And right now, I think ER will be left scratching their heads, because, like, what do you do if you can't even get the respect from your opponent to just take ramp control? Or what do you do if, you know, your opponents are just going to push everything willy-nilly because they don't know any other way to play the map?
Yeah, I think, you know, the other thing we need to kind of point out as well, that, like, Yara have had little glimmers here and there in this map, maybe more so in Inferno, right, where there's been really intelligent play being put out, and, you know, they've done things wonderfully well. Cyrex there with a clip on to Zprof as he starts to push in towards A. Molotov will do the rest of the damage for him, but that's going to be an M4 recovered. I'll come back to my point in a second, I promise. But they've got bomb control and bomb plant, which is working out quite nicely, and they've got just a flashbang left in the cards there to use. Rio's going to pick up Zyrex. I don't think they read into the fact that Potatoes is that close up. They finish him off in the end, but Cody's able to pick up one. Stato's going to connect on a second, and it's now a 1v1. Soundly picked up there by Wild in the end, but there was a scramble towards victory to get that second round on the board, Jammer.
Yeah, I think the way that ER just won that was just they executed a nice, clean execute. Granted, they didn't punish where they could have.
Yeah.
But it's good enough for that round. You know, they execute well. They get the bomb down. Post plants are decent enough. And Protos, they're, you know, really keen to give them that space because it is a, like, eco kind of deagle situation. And they don't want to get caught off guard by the deagles. But they give ER too much respect. And they give them too much space, for lack of a better way to say it. Now you can see that giving them no respect, no real space to work with, and the space that they are giving them, ER aren't aware of it.
I'm just leaving this round materialize a little bit from Yar, because I mean, this in theory, as far as money is concerned and as far as weaponry is concerned, should be, you know, Yar kind of pushing into Protos and taking a third on the board for themselves. But it's the way that Space Push and the rest of his teammates to kind of laid themselves up ready for it. Wild's going to peek it, but he's going to peek it with a bit of knowledge behind the back of it. Unfortunately, he's not able to convert the second as Zedprov will finish him off. Cody G is able to wrap up that one, but it's all on Yar now to kind of make maneuvers with this. And they're very slow up ramp, Jammer.
Yeah, I don't get this. They've got 2 picks. They've made their presence known. They've even like made noise rotating over, and then they just walk through until they execute. It is going to be the execute at 35 seconds though, and there you go. Nice util. You can see Protoss don't have anything to stem or stymie the execute coming through. Nothing to stop the mollies, and there you go. Bomb planted. 4 versus 3 on the retake. No kits. So Protoss, they should be saving this one. If not, they're going to be stuck on an economic downturn for the next round.
At least Rio with the AWP, right? Back Rio off with the AWP, get him out of position. Okay, play the Deagle, play the FAMAS if you really want to. Try and get those initial, you know, those extra picks. Trade ups for AKs, whatever you can get out of it. But Rio needs to back off immediately. Yeah, he is as well. I mean, they've wrapped away from side towards B, which makes perfect sense from a longevity perspective. But okay, we should really break that round down a little bit more, but there's not a huge amount to break down other than they get those initial 2 picks. Wild is dropped, but at the same time, those 2 picks are still in play, and then it's kind of like they're setting up for smokes and flashes to push themselves into A site. It's almost like they're anticipating there being a third person there. Which, you know, in fairness, you and I have got the benefit of hindsight. We can see everything. But at the same time, they're setting up smokes and flashes, but it's too long to set up. They need to be those quick entry flashes, those quick, you know, smokes to kind of block off positions, get themselves into key placement areas, win the site control like they've already done, and then make the most of it.
Yeah, Stata with a laboured pick onto Ellis, and that will be the first pick moving towards ER. But you can see Rio and Moist, they have an AWP and a FAMAS. They're residing over towards A, and Moist is on that boost. Got that opener not so many rounds ago. We are moving to the end of the half now, round 12. 8-3 is the scoreline, so ER, they definitely have an opportunity to come back into things, and 8-7 half would be a remarkable scoreline to bring up into the second half. But from what we've seen so far, Protoss are, you know, looking like they will extend things, even though it is just the majority of pistols on their squad. Oh, this is timing. There we go. There's the first being taken out. They can drop off and completely expect this push from ER. Oh, that's a nice opener as well. Potatoes to trade, though. Pistol taken down, and Zedprov, oh, chiming up with the pocket AWP, and it is the 2 pocket AWP and AWP combos that will end things. Stata with an AWP down, and oh, he's not expecting that from Zedprov. That's unfortunate. They do win with the pistols. Protoss to 9. ER being caught off guard again, and I hate to say it, but we saw that coming.
Yep. Yeah, we did. We've seen it before. Yeah. we've seen this before, right? I mean, that's something that we saw Protos do 3-4 rounds apart, more or less, and into Inferno, winning that equal round in that way. They're fairly stable enough to kind of wrap around into those pistols and kind of get themselves into those aggressive positions, take those initial fights. You know, if they win them, brilliant. They tend to then kind of like build up a little bit more off the back of winning those fights. Yeah, I really need to put some more points on the board this half, Jammer. They need to win these next 2 rounds. Otherwise, I think we might be in for an early finish. Speaking of early finishes, that flame will lap around the legs of Elaz. I've said that name wrong about 16 times, but who cares? Rio also will drop immediately off the back of it. This is good side control taken from Yar onto B, and there's some utility still left in the coffers for them to work into good positions. Cody's going to sit in the fire and flame. It's a little bit too long there. We'll convert one off the back of it. And Space Bush is able to trade off. This should be, yeah, it is. Protoss backing away from sight, right? Keep those weapons into the next round and allow Yar to get another one on the board.
Yeah, I think prospectively we are moving towards that 9-6 end of half scoreline, but that's interesting, Zyrek.
Okay. How is he in this position?
Okay.
Sorry, I was just looking at Zedprof in the position against Potatoes. Mate, he's going to kill me after this. Space Push will finish him off after time ticks over, but I mean, there's money in the bank still. It's not a healthy bank balance by any stretch of the imagination for a lot of the players on Yar, but they can afford to buy up another one.
Yeah, well, so far, Ramp has been a graveyard for Yar. I think as of late, they've had a resurgence, maybe zombies coming back from the dead to haunt Protoss, but it seems like we're still going for this vying of control for Ramp, and Yar, they're trying to get an opener. Cody needs to connect because he's not had much success. Not going to be successful in getting an opening this time. Potatoes, he's brought up. There's no one over towards B whatsoever, and I think it's literally because of the presence of 2 players being there in the last round that's kind of halting him back, preventing him from going for anything too aggressive, especially considering there's likely to be some pistols or some SMGs brought into this round. You can see ER, they're going to try and go for this A push again. Rio not going to get flashed off, and that's an opener, going back for more, in fact, and should be punished. There we go, it will be locked in, but it was a little bit laboured. 4 versus 3 now on the cards as Protoss try and scramble their way over towards 8. And yeah, they're slowing things down again, but I don't know. This is a weird situation.
On paper, this is a Yar round, but we've seen it time and time again where Protoss are able to fetch it back. This is making me, like, not believe, but also believe as well at the same time. It's a really weird situation to be in. There's no I mean, there's every reason for both these CT players to push into this. There's no point in them keeping Deeks. You know, Space Push does have head armor, but against AKs, there's not really a huge amount of benefit to it, especially when you're taking heads off like that from Potatoes. Do you notice the subtle pause there before I said his name?
Yeah.
You did, good. Thanks for that. Yeah. See, I know what I'm doing every now and again.
We are professionals.
Oh yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, it's not like we've been doing this for over a year. Space Rush will finish himself off to bomb as well. Okay. I mean, it's an extra, it's an extra round. It's an extra weapon that needs to be rebought up into. Final round of the half here for map 2, and it's a really poor buy. I'm gonna say it's a poor buy, but like, do I really need to say it's a poor buy, Jammer? You know, how many times have we said it's a poor buy, and then all of a sudden Protoss have got 2 AKs in hand?
Yeah, I think the one thing we can commend ER for is keeping the economy situation, you know, kind of honest for this CT side. I think they've done that just by kind of letting Protoss force buy into their own demise, along with the fact that Rio is 3 for 6. So they've absolutely stymied that critical upper from the first map. Oh, Zyrex though. The timing will work for him. That's not often that we get to say that, but there's an opening in middle. But as just they get a glimmer of light, Potatoes will fall towards B stairs, and that's the first time that we've seen Rio get the better of Potatoes in a long time. It will be the wrap over towards B that's triggered, and nice adjustment from Stater there. quick on the swivel, and that will be the bomb going down in a 2 versus 4 situation. So we should be moving to a natural conclusion of 9-6 at the end of the half, which when all things said and done, it's good enough, but perhaps ER could have done better.
I'm going to say you know exactly what I'm going to say. I mean, 9-6 is obviously a good scoreline. We said this in the last map. ER were able to pull back 4 rounds on the bounce into the second half. You know, are we going to see a repeat of what we saw in the last match, in the last map even, or is this ER kind of going, okay, we're a bit more awake now, we know how to play our CT sides, let's be a bit more conservative with it and see what happens. I really want to see map 3, to be completely honest with you, and I think, yeah, if they can fight it out in the second half of this map, they do deserve to go for it, really.
Yeah, of course, this is, in all likelihood, ER's map pick, so it's understandable to see them kind of sussing things out a little bit better and looking a bit more convincing.
And we jump straight back in. Switches back to gameplay, so you guys can see exactly what's going on in the server. Now we are on CT side.
Interesting.
Yeah.
A lot of util picked up by ER, but no kits.
Yeah, no kits whatsoever. I mean, it's where they're going to really position it. I mean, looking at the way the split is between the two, you know, we do have 2 flashes and a smoke on each side, essentially, so they can use that to build up a play or slow things down. Traded damage there from both players, Zyrex and also onto ReaperSteve, or whoever's there to stay, and they'll pick up 1-2 off the back of it. Zyrex is going to fall in the end, but State was able to trade off the back of that, and Rio have got everything to redo, and there's no utility now in the hands of Protos to be able to use.
Oh no.
Oh no, the backstab play comes through, and Wild and Potatoes get picked up in 2 easy frags. Cody's got everything here to build up into this. He's got some armor to work with as well also, but it's Glock on Glock. That flashbang, it's well placed, but it's just not effective, unfortunately, because Eliza's be able to stay behind the vents. It's too tense.
Oh. Well, what do you say about that one?
Yeah, I mean, that's so disappointing I mean, they realistically did everything right. It was just that backstab. There's no one watching the backlines. Eliza's going to take full advantage of it, right? I mean, you're always going to take full advantage of that situation if it's presented to you. Peak Flash will go through. Obviously, will take a lot of damage off the back of that deagle, but it's traded back in favour onto Zyrex.
How much space Rio's got and the util's coming in afterwards, so the resulting statement of this is they know exactly where ER is and they're cut off. There we go, 2 players falling, that's a B-site defense, even middle pressure coming through, so Protos should be winning this round in a healthy manner. Just 2 players to find, and will be left down to Wild, but Rio picks up a 3-kill advantage through there, and that's 11-6. This is not looking good, Nick.
No, it's not. Come on, y'all. Wake up. Please wake up at least, anyway.
I think we can all get behind this underdog sentiment that ER have willed themselves into. The real kind of crux of the matter is whether they can capitalize on the same way that Protos did on their CT side, and these bits of nades and util flying over. Oh, they're connecting, and ER just aren't. Cody G cannot be affording to miss shots like that on a plate, but Rio stays alive for the time being. So many players here from ER, but they're not converting into kills. They're being churned up by the bullets from Protos. The Georgian side just chiming in. There's a first, but it might be too little too late.
Yeah. 6-12 Jammer is the score, and we're pushing into what I think we're already past pushing into dangerous territory as far as Yara are concerned. That 6-round difference is kind of getting more and more extended as time progresses, unfortunately, and yeah, it just feels like we're on a downward trend at the moment, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think we're kind of really seeing ER get caught off guard again. And this is reminiscent of their performance on Inferno, where we saw them get taken advantage of in these spots. And oh no, I don't think Zyrox is going to be considering this spot right here. It's all going to matter on the timing. And Rio converts, Dink down, but still alive and kicking Zyrex into the afterlife. Now Potatoes needs to try and lock down this B site, but you can see the push isn't even going to come through.
It's just the quietness of this now. Zyrex, they're getting taken down by Bulldog, forces another player to concede ground, and just look how much space they've been given on mid. I mean, Wild is just, he's always going to get caught off guard there, right? I mean, the only player that's really there to answer is Cody G, but it's too late in the end. Cody G will pick up one, but Zedprof is going to pick up another. Oh, big spray through from Strater as he clears up 2, and that puts us at an even playing field, I should say. But for how much longer? There's some utility there that Yar can use if they're awarded the space to push it into position. Rio is now last man standing in 1v1. He's got 9 HP left to his name, and Potatoes keeps Yar in the game once again.
Does indeed. Interesting choice not to pick up the AWP, and it seems like Cody isn't feeling it today. Does retrieve that AK, and yeah, they win the round, but they're in that unfortunate spot that we talk about where you have a weaker buy in terms of firepower and utility. This is so tense because they need to win consecutive rounds. They need to pick up something in the form of wins. And right now, it's going to be a hard task because this B push is coming through. And Protos, they're just converting kills. That's the entire B-site defense. Look at the minimap. They're on the entire other side of the world in terms of this map, and they're going to have such a long rotation. Wild gets through, but only as the bomb gets planted, and I don't fancy ER's chances right now unless Wild pushes through the smoke. Picks up 2, but he'll get nothing. Zedprof spraying through the smoke, and I think that's the exact kind of play that ER were missing on their T side, just not taking the risk to go for those kinds of kills, and man, that's unfortunate.
Yep, it really is. It really, really is, Jammer. And like, it pushes Stater and Cody into an awkward position of like, do we go for this to try and recover a round back off it, or we don't have the economy to really do so, let's go for exits. But realistically speaking, the way that this team are kind of pushing forward into them, if they went for exit frags, they're going to be meeting 4 players. They're not meeting 1 or 2 players that they can easily pick up the slack from. 13-7 is the scoreline, still in favour of Protos. Man, if Yar, I mean, compared to where we started the season, right? I want to go back in time a little bit with you and I and with chat. Compare this Yar to the start of the season Yar, and it's like night and day. I mean, the way that they're playing in comparison to each other, like they've grown so much over this season. It's unbelievable. And regardless of what happens tonight, I think we're not for Open for too much longer. Easily things that can be kind of corrected over time, and we've seen that happen through the space of a season. Bulldog is swinging into site itself. Cody G is able to get actually a really keen position above, and we'll pick up Zedprof from space push. Rio is still lurking out there though in the shadows. That smoke grenade will give him a bit of an advantage there to push up into position to take on these rotating players coming into him. That's going to be Staker taken down fairly easily by what was originally the danger man as far as map 1's concerned, but has now slightly been awakened into map 2.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about this individual decision making from ER. You brought up the start of the season, and I can definitely say there's a markable improvement.
Yeah.
But right now, I don't really. It's not that I don't believe in the project. I don't believe in the way that the players are progressing. I think there's something to be said about how they're organizing like themselves individually. I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with their strats or perhaps the way that they're going for fights, but you can see spots like this, Wild got caught exactly the same way last round,
and
I think there's a bit of a lack of communication or something coming through there, because you've got your teammates dying in the exact same way you did, but I don't know. There's something lost in translation, it feels like.
Yeah. It's that
Even
mid
things like
push.
that,
Yeah.
right, where you don't know if you've lost middle control, so you run half the way, walk the rest of it, and it's just too easy to read. You know, these are plays that you can't really be kind of trying to get away with. You
Yeah.
lock down the way that you're playing, and it's unfortunate, especially in the fashion that it's happening. But
Yeah.
15-7 isn't where I was expecting this to go.
No. No, it isn't. In fairness, it isn't. I think that'll be the same for a lot of people out there watching from home.
The worst thing about this
Yeah.
all is, like, you can watch this with like braced teeth, because
Yeah.
there's some really good ideas and some really good plays from these guys, and it's just those little things, those, you know, individual, like, tiny little decisions that are really making a difference.
And this is exactly what we're saying about from night and day from the start of the season. The start of the season we were
That's
seeing.
exactly what I'm
Yeah,
talking
that's
about.
exactly it. Yeah, you're right. It's kind of what I was referring to from the start of the season, though, is that when we were talking about start of the season, we were seeing big issues that were out there.
Yeah.
You know, there wasn't really much of a cohesion within the team, and
Yeah.
they were getting close score lines in the games that they were playing. But realistically speaking, they were getting those close score lines because there was slight individual plays that would tip rounds in the right scales. Whereas now we're seeing more of a team play, but it's just these slight mistakes here and there, and that's kind of what's letting down Yar, unfortunately. As they drop out of the playoffs in single elimination for ESEA season, whatever season it is, season
39.
39, 40, 39.
I want to say something like that. Yeah, but I think, you know, I've lost my train of thought now. What were we talking about at their development?
Yeah, we're talking about development
no.
for the team. There's like the individual sort of issues.
Yeah, I think over the course of the season, we've started with kind of like, as using metaphors, an infantile like squad. They were kind of like learning to walk, learning their identity, who they are, and I think by the end of this season, you know, we kind of started to see them form an idea of what they want their identity to be, kind of reaching a conclusion to how they want to move forward. But I think right now it's about ironing out the kinks, really looking into the small details of the game and trying to come up with like that extra layer of kind of like that extra layer of strats, or those individual plays that you can make, that will really push them over the edge and push them further. I just hope that they can, you know, stick together as a squad. They don't lose hope with the project because of, you know, the disappointing way in which it ended. I think, of course, they were fortunate to get to this point in the season, you know, with 4 forfeit wins, but there was some real glimmers of hope, some diamonds in the rough that I think are often found with this ER squad through its many iterations.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that we need to take into consideration is that we've had a change of leadership midway through as well. Also, and there's obviously moving into other areas of the business as far as esports worlds are concerned. Stater coming in, taking over, and kind of leading the charge from where Anders left off has been quite nice to see. Also, and it's kind of reflective in the way that the maps have been played out. You know, November was pretty much like a win month for the entirety of November as far as Yara are concerned. You know, they had one or two smatterings of bad games, like we watched that game against Astaya and Hold This Wood. They were two very close games, 16-14 at both of them. And unfortunately, they weren't able to, you know, connect off the back of the two. But realistically speaking, you know, we're looking at games that are like 16-7, 16-8. You know, really good games that were kind of built up from what Anders left off and handed into Stator's hands. So I'm looking forward to seeing what we can see from him next year. That's good. Or see next. Well, it is next year. My God. We're in December. What am I talking about? Thank you very much for the raid, by the way. Yes.
Thanks, Sash.
You know, we are going to be wrapping up actually in a minute, but thank you very much nonetheless. Yeah, I mean, you know, there's really good efforts coming in from the backlines of it. I do think that this isn't going to be a kind of, you know, one and done season, so to speak. You know, yes, esports worlds are here to stay as far as ESEA are concerned, and I don't know if you and I will be back. I hope we will be, of course. You know, we do enjoy watching the ESEA, and
I think over our like tenured seasons with this squad, we've kind of like grown an attachment to Esports Wales. So even
Yeah,
if they don't bring us back, I think we'll be cheering for them in the backlines perhaps. But yeah,
yeah.
honestly, I've come to like love this organization and love the project, and I really hope that they can continue to strive forward, make progress, and kind of like iron out the kinks that we've kind of seen progress over time.
Yeah, exactly. I, for one, am definitely looking forward to seeing what happens next season. As you mentioned, with or without us, they're probably going to have us cheering from the sidelines. But otherwise, as we wrap off what potentially could be our last cast of the year, Jammer, if they want to know more about Esports Wales, where can they go?
They can go to Esports Wales on Twitter.
Exactly. If they want to know more about you and me, where can they go?
They can go to @Jammer_CS or @ReaperSteve1. Keep up to date with us, and I'm going to throw a little cheeky shout out to our podcast, which has recently started. So
Yep,
keep an eye
indeed.
out for that.
You can hear our podcast on Spotify. It is the only one that we're uploading to at the moment. It's called Into Overtime with ReaperSteve and Jammer. You can listen to our like little 30-minute just rant that we posted the other day, which is up there already for you. But we're going to be interviewing some people. We've got some stuff lined up for it, so I'm pretty much looking forward to that.
Yeah,
I think John's going to probably want to come on to it at some point because we've
I
talked
was
about
literally
it.
about to say, like, so it's not complete shilling. We will probably have some guys from Esports Wales on there at some point, but yeah.
I definitely want Anders and Stater on there, like a duo of them two, just basically bullying us for an hour and 30 minutes of a podcast. I think that would be pretty good. But yeah, you can catch up with us and all that kind of stuff as things progress. But otherwise, have a great Christmas, Jammer.
Yeah, you too, mate.
Yeah, have a good New Year, everyone. And yeah, we'll see you all in 2022, which is scary that it's 2022. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, and peace. Good night.